Good evening. It's Thursday, the 12th of June, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Aviation disaster. London-bound plane crashes after takeoff in India. Diplomatic withdrawal. US begins partial embassy evacuation in Iraq amidst rising tensions. Heroic rescue. Man saves 6-year-old child from drowning in pool.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Amarsha Fernando.
And good evening once again. An Air India flight carrying 242 passengers en route to London has crashed shortly after takeoff from Ahmedabad. Details are still emerging, but officials confirm the aircraft went down near a residential area.
The ill-fated aircraft was identified as a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, a model known for its advanced safety features and widespread use in international travel. Despite its reputation for reliability, the plane encountered trouble during takeoff, prompting immediate concern from aviation experts and authorities alike. Television footage captured the dramatic moment the aircraft disappeared from view shortly after takeoff, followed by a massive fireball rising beyond nearby homes. Eyewitnesses in the residential neighborhood reported a loud explosion and tremors moments before emergency services rushed to the scene. Flight Radar 24, a global flight tracking platform, confirmed that the aircraft lost altitude rapidly after departing from Ahmedabad. While rescue operations are ongoing, officials have confirmed over 100 deaths.
Tensions continue to rise in the Middle East. The US is evacuating non-essential embassy staff from Baghdad amidst escalating threats, as intelligence suggests possible Israeli military action against Iran and fears of Iranian retaliation against American sites in the region.
Despite the evacuation, U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff is still scheduled to meet with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Muscat this Sunday. The planned talks aim to address Iran's nuclear ambitions, even as broader diplomatic efforts appear to be faltering. President Donald Trump, speaking from the Kennedy Center, emphasized that Americans were advised to leave the region due to potential danger, reaffirming his administration's stance. He declared that the U.S. would not allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon, reiterating the goal of reaching a preventative agreement. Earlier in the week, President Trump reportedly held a tense 40-minute phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli leader has consistently favored a military response to Iran's nuclear program, in contrast to Trump's preferences for a negotiated deal to curb Tehran's nuclear capabilities.
President Trump has announced that a trade truce with China has been secured. He also signaled openness to extending a deadline for broader trade negotiations, though he expressed confidence that an extension may not ultimately be required.
Donald Trump says the deal to save a trade truce with China is done. Speaking to reporters on a trip to the theatre, he said the US was rocking on lots more agreements too. The president added he would be willing to extend the deadline for talks with other countries, but didn't think he'd have to.
I don't think we're going to have that necessity. We made a great deal with China. We're very happy with it.
Trump didn't offer more details and said some countries would simply be told what their deal was.
We're dealing with about 15 countries, but as you know, we have about 150 plus, and you can't do that. So we're going to be sending letters out in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
The agreement with China came after 2 days of intense talks in London. That deal confirms an earlier agreement hammered out in May, which had seemed under threat over Beijing's curbs on the export of critical rare earth minerals. Those restrictions will now be lifted, with some US measures also eased. But many details remain unclear, and Washington is still imposing a 55% tariff on Chinese goods. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that rate was fixed and unalterable. Speaking earlier in Congress, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Beijing needed to show it was open to fundamental change.
They're in the midst of a real estate downturn. Some may cause a crisis, and they are trying to export their way out of it rather than take domestic measures such as increasing consumption, dealing with banking problems, or dealing with the real estate crisis.
Besant said the London deal did not mean Washington would lift curbs on the export of cutting-edge chips in return for the supply of rare earths. Market reaction to the agreement was muted, with many investors saying they wanted to see more detail.
A major breakthrough in post-Brexit diplomacy, Spain, the UK and the EU have struck a landmark deal on Gibraltar status. The agreement promises smoother border crossings, safeguards sovereignty and brings relief to thousands of Spaniards commuting daily to the British territory.
The new agreement allows roughly 15,000 daily cross-border workers to travel between Spain and Gibraltar using national ID cards or residence permits, effectively ending long waits and passport stamp checks. Many commuters hailed the move as a long overdue solution to years of border frustration. Spanish Foreign Minister José Manuel Alvarez celebrated the removal of what he called the last wall in continental Europe. The deal also includes shared passport checks at Gibraltar's airport and seaport, managed jointly by Spanish and Gibraltarian authorities, a symbolic and practical step towards stronger cooperation. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy emphasised that the accord ensures British sovereignty and Gibraltar's military autonomy while fostering economic resilience. The agreement, years in the making since Brexit, was welcomed by EU officials as a rare example of successful trilateral negotiation amid broader regional complexities.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. And welcome back. In a dramatic turn, Israel's parliament has narrowly voted against dissolving itself, averting early elections that could have unseated Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The decision follows a fragile compromise over military conscription, easing but not ending a major political crisis.
The failed motion to dissolve the Knesset, rejected 61 to 53, would have marked the first formal step towards early elections in Israel. With the 120-member chamber needing a simple majority to pass such a move, the vote reflects how sharply divided the ruling coalition remains. At the heart of the crisis is a controversial conscription bill. Ultra-Orthodox parties in Netanyahu's coalition are demanding exemptions from mandatory military service for religious seminary students, a stance that has drawn fierce opposition from other lawmakers, particularly during the ongoing war with Hamas, which has stretched Israel's military resources. Political pressure is mounting as Netanyahu's popularity continues to decline. Recent polls suggest his coalition would lose power in a snap election, fueled by public outrage over the October 7th Hamas attack and unresolved hostage situations. Ultra-Orthodox parties, once key allies, have even threatened to back opposition calls for an early vote.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has extended warm congratulations to Russian President Vladimir Putin for Russia Day, highlighting the country's deepening alliance. The message was personally delivered by North Korea's ambassador in a symbolic gesture of growing diplomatic and strategic ties. In the letter, Kim Jong-un described Russia as a brotherly nation and emphasized the unbreakable comrade-in-arms bond between Pyongyang and Moscow. The language reflects North Korea's continued support for Russia amidst growing international isolation of both nations due to geopolitical tensions. The message was formally delivered by North Korea's ambassador to Russia, Shin Hong-chol, directly to the Russian Foreign Ministry. The delivery was timed to coincide with Russia Day, June 12th, a national celebration marking the foundation of the Russian Federation after the Soviet Union's dissolution. Notably, since 2023, North Korea's state media has shifted its protocol by reporting not just letters, but also its method of delivery. This added context underscored Pyongyang's intent to publicly showcase its diplomatic outreach and reinforce its alliance with Moscow. In a pivotal moment for the Me Too era, a Manhattan jury has convicted Harvey Weinstein on one sex crime charge. However, deliberations continue, with the panel still divided over additional counts and reports emerging on tension and threats among the jurors.
A jury on Wednesday found Harvey Weinstein guilty on one of the 3 charges he faced in his sex crimes retrial in New York. The Manhattan jury found Weinstein not guilty of a second charge stemming from an alleged sexual assault and was unable to reach a verdict on the 3rd count of rape. The 73-year-old pleaded not guilty in his retrial and has denied assaulting anyone or having non-consensual sex. At trial, prosecutors accused him of raping an aspiring actress and assaulting 2 other women. The disgraced movie mogul was found guilty on a charge stemming from his alleged assault of former production assistant Miriam Haley in 2006. The charge he was acquitted on stemmed from his alleged assault of Kaya Sokola in 2002 when she was a 16-year-old aspiring actress. The jury will resume deliberations on Thursday for the 3rd count, which charges Weinstein with raping aspiring actress Jessica Mann in 2013. Wednesday's partial verdict came on the 5th day of sometimes contentious deliberations. The judge met privately with one member of the jury and stated in open court that there had been, quote, fighting in the jury room. Weinstein's lawyer asked for a mistrial. But as the judge was preparing to dismiss jurors for the day to give them a chance to cool off, the jury indicated it had reached a verdict on some counts. Regardless of the jury's eventual verdict on the rape charge, Weinstein faces up to 25 years in prison. He has separately been sentenced to 16 years in prison following a rape conviction in California.
French President Emmanuel Macron announced plans to advocate for an EU-wide ban on social media use for children under 15. The move follows a tragic school stabbing in eastern France, adding to growing concerns over youth safety and online exposure.
The proposed regulation aims to limit children's access to potentially harmful content on social media platforms, which Macron believes can contribute to rising violence and mental health issues. The initiative is part of a broader effort to protect vulnerable youth in the digital age. This announcement comes amid heightened public anxiety after the recent stabbing incident, which shocked communities across France. Authorities are investigating the attack, with many calling for stronger preventative measures both online and in schools. Macron's call for regulation has sparked debate among policymakers and tech companies, some of whom argue for greater parental control rather than outright bans. The French president, however, insists on a unified EU approach to create a safer environment for children.
Flooding in South Africa's Eastern Cape has claimed 49 lives amidst relentless heavy rain and snow, causing widespread disruption. A recent tragedy saw a school bus swept away, intensifying concerns as the region grapples with increasingly severe weather linked to climate change.
Floods in South Africa's Eastern Cape province have left dozens of people dead, the province's premier said on Wednesday. Heavy rain and snow have lashed parts of the country since the weekend, disrupting transportation and power networks across the country. Some of the victims were on a school bus that was swept away, said Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane.
The number of people confirmed to have been in the minibus, it's 13 learners with 2 adults. The driver and the assistant to the driver. Sadly, 4 of those learners have been confirmed to be deceased, together with the driver and the conductor of the minibus taxi.
Flooding has become increasingly common and severe in South Africa. In 2022, a storm on the country's east coast killed around 400 people and left thousands homeless.
Time for a short commercial break now. We'll be right back. And welcome back. A Florida man became a hero after saving a 6-year-old boy drowning in a pool. The man working nearby on a construction site rushed upon the child's aid, hearing desperate cries for help, preventing a tragedy.
In an instant, playtime at this pool in Fort Lauderdale turning into a nightmarish race against time. Surveillance video shows this 6-year-old boy slipping from an inflatable raft and plunging into the deep end of a pool. Almost immediately, it's clear he's unable to swim or even keep his head above water. The boy's cousin, who later told first responders he doesn't know how to swim either, desperately trying to help him from the pool's edge. A total of 108 heart-pounding seconds pass, with the boy flailing and then underwater, before finally help arrives in the form of a stranger. Roque Ivan Ocampo says he was working on construction projects around the building when he was struck by cries for help, immediately jumping into the pool and grabbing hold of the child, dragging him out of the water with some help from the boy's cousin and beginning to administer CPR. The child's family ultimately rushing over and calling 911. Arriving officers then took charge and assumed life-saving efforts. The child clearly shaken, but breathing.
You're doing good, bud. Keep breathing, okay?
He was then taken to a local hospital for treatment. Police say the boy is expected to make a full recovery and that Ocampo's quick thinking ultimately saved that child's life. The next day, Ocampo, after giving the gift of life, receiving this opportunity to reunite with the boy and his family.
Amid Lebanon's ongoing financial crisis, a mother of 4 turned her home into a cozy restaurant to support her family. Zainab's table offered traditional Lebanese seafood dishes, blending resilience, hospitality and community spirit in challenging times.
Zainab Khalife began by setting up a single table outside her house in Sarafand, cooking fresh fish from a nearby market. Over time, she transformed part of her home into a modest dining hall, balancing family life and business under one roof despite initial challenges. Her restaurant has become a local favorite, praised by guests for its home-cooked meals, cleanliness and warm hospitality. Many appreciate the intimate, welcoming atmosphere that differs from typical commercial establishments, creating a unique dining experience rooted in Lebanese tradition. Though never formally trained as a chef, Khalife's cooking skills have flourished through years of practice at home. Supported by family and a small team, she hopes to expand Zainab's table, turning her passion into a lasting livelihood amid Lebanon's economic hardships.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Amasha Fernando. And we leave you tonight with the visuals of Serpentine, Lego and popular architect Peter Cook joined for World Play Day, creating a masterpiece. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Anuradhi Vikramasinghe will be joining you next with the Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching and have a great night.